Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back. If you didn't see the earlier video I put out, we had a minor technical hitch at this end, but we're all sorted now, and we're delighted that Al is going to be joining us very, very soon. Just for those of you who don't know, my name's Rich. I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport: 4 wheels, 2 wheels, no roof, and we cover motorsport in the form of race reviews, race previews, articles, birthdays, and we support and we provide online backing for some of the best young riders and drivers here in the UK. We also do live interviews. I'm just going to rattle through this very quickly. These are conducted on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're also on Instagram, but the interviews don't go there. We haven't found the technology to do all 4 as yet. But so do search for the Hard Compound on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and you'll find us. And we have done some terrific interviews in the past. Just a few names. We've spoken to the legend that is Mario Andretti. We've spoken to Jackie Ickx. We've spoken to a lot of the British touring car drivers, world touring car drivers, winners of Le Mans, the likes of like David Brabham, Andy Priaulx, Stefan Johansson. We've spoken to the reigning IndyCar champion Alex Palou. We've spoken to Will Power. We've spoken to Mick Asalo, Eddie Cheever, Derek Warwick, Danny Sullivan, Willie T. Ribbs. Many great guests, and they are on Facebook in the video section, and they're on our YouTube and our Twitter. So do go and check them out, but don't do it just yet, because we have another fantastic guest, 2-time IndyCar champion, double Indy 500 winner, a member of the most celebrated family in the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and one of my all-time heroes. So apologies that we're running a little bit late, but we are here now. So please join me in welcoming the legend, Mr. Unser Jr.
Thank you, Rich.
There we are. Al, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay now. I was a bit edgy. I was thinking, oh, is it going to work? But we're all good and we're all fine. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. I really appreciate it. And as I said,
of course.
As I said off camera just before we came on, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm smiling. So it's a real honor to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, apologies to everyone, folks. We are running a little bit late, but we are all good, and we have a fantastic chat coming up. We're going to run through Al's career and some of his moments, and more good than bad, of course. But if you do have any comments, do put them in the comment section. Any questions, and we'll try and get them to Al as soon as we can. I can see some coming in already. Thank you to Craig Homer, Colin Hart, Simon Steele. You've already put your comments in. Great to see. We're going to come to those soon. But Al, as I said, thank you very much. It's the month of May. It's 2 weeks until the Indy 500. And I'm going to be there for the first time ever, which is fantastic.
Good.
Yes, I'm very, very excited. Finally making it out there.
So this is your first time ever, huh?
First time, yeah. We were supposed to come out there last year, but
it's a bucket list. You're gonna really feel the energy of 400,000 people all in one area at one time before the start of the race. The energy is incredible. Wow. And so you'll be feeling it for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. We're on the outside of turn 4, and I can't wait. I've been wanting to go at the 500 since '88. It was the first one I ever watched. I was 7 years old, and even though Rick Mears won it under yellow, I just thought, wow, what is this? This is fantastic. And I've just been hooked ever since. And
it's good stuff.
Yeah. So, but obviously you've got some kind, you've got somewhat of a link to the Indy 500 in the Speedway, understatement of the year. But before we get to that, I'd just like to go back right to the start, really. I mean, normally I would ask how you got into motor racing, but in your case, it's a question that doesn't need to be asked, I think. You kind of grew up with it, didn't you?
Yeah, I was definitely born into racing, with Dad and Uncle Bobby and all that, and I truly fell in love with the 500 really when I was 8 years old. They showed it on closed circuit TV, so we were in Albuquerque. My sisters and I were in Albuquerque, and we went to the Civic Auditorium. And it was just it was a big screen in front of the audience there. And you mentioned your die-cast car. I have my die-cast car.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
so, yeah. And so
Should we
I
just do a little
watched
comparison
this
here? Yours is
car.
bigger. I'm going to hold my...
I watched this car win the Indy 500 and just blew everybody away that day. And like he led 190 some laps out of 200. He was gone. Dad was gone. And from that day forward, it was a dream of mine to compete at the Indy 500. And right about that time, God saw it fit to build a go-kart track that was just about a mile and a half away from our house. And
you were in Albuquerque,
so,
weren't you?
pardon?
You were in Albuquerque at this point.
Yes, this is all in Albuquerque, and we built that go-kart track, and I started racing go-karts about a year later when I was 9 years old. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, did you sort of did you pressure your father or your uncle into saying, I really want to go? Or
absolutely, I pressured Dad, give me a go-kart, I want to race, the go-kart. And so he ended up doing that, and
was he
really
happy
the rest
with
is
it?
history. So yeah.
Was he happy with you going racing? Because obviously it was a time that wasn't the safest period in motorsport history, as we know.
True.
Was he a bit standoffish with it, or was he like,
No, he was all for it. He really truly did it in a way that he didn't pressure me. I didn't feel any pressure to go and race. I had to get good grades in school. I had to work on the go-kart myself with him. And so he really did it in a way that I wanted to race. It all came from me. So
brilliant. No, it's good. It's because there's some people sort of pressure their kids into going racing, or
now he did want me to go racing, but he did
wasn't
it in
cracking
a
the
way
whip.
that I didn't feel any of that. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good.
Where Uncle Bobby did it in a way, man. He was chasing his boys around that go-kart track and all kinds of stuff.
That doesn't sound like him.
It was something else. So anyway.
Wow. No, fantastic. Yeah. That's brilliant. I mean, when were you aware of the scale of what your father and your uncle were doing? Because obviously by this point, they're winning Indy 500s and they're racing at the top level. When did you first think, wow, this is a big deal? These guys are, my family's pretty well into this,
Yeah, I guess, it was probably when I was around 16. That's truly when I went from the go-kart to a sprint car on the dirt, and basically my professional career began at that time. And that was when it really kind of soaked in that, hey, this is a big deal, and so on. And then I learned also that it was a big deal to win. It was a big deal, to get out there and compete and be successful at driving race cars. And so, it all happened right about the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of all came together and you realized it was a big thing. And it wasn't just something that the family did. It was a much, much, much bigger thing.
Yeah.
No, cool. If we may, obviously, just want to pass on my personal condolences. You lost 3 members of the family last year. Obviously, Al and Al Senior and Uncle Bobby. If we may, just a couple of moments just to talk about them, because they're so well loved by everyone, and they'll go down in history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just an amazing legacy left, which obviously you're carrying on, and your kids, and it's a pretty amazing thing. And obviously, even from over here in the UK, if you know IndyCar, you know Al and Bobby, and especially. So yeah, very well remembered. Especially Bobby. Everyone remembers your Uncle Bobby. He's
he did such a great.
Yeah,
he did such a great job. After he retired from driving, then he went into the TV booth and started commentating. And Uncle Bobby, he loved to talk. He loved to talk, and so it was perfect for him. And he really did a great job up in the booth with Paul Page and Sam Posey, and
Yeah.
you know, him and Sam would get into different stuff. It was yeah.
You could always tell there was a little bit of friction there. It was just great. It just added to it. And to me, the guys you mentioned there, they were the voices of the Indy 500 growing up, because it's the only race we had here in the UK, an IndyCar. And we actually had Paul Page on 2 weeks ago, and he was just brilliant. It's just a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
But there's just something about your family and motorsport, isn't it? You're just good at it.
Well, yeah, we worked hard at it. Uncle Bobby and Dad, they worked hard at it. They made sure that they were in good rides, with good car owners, and doing whatever it took to prepare the cars and so on, and so, I guess, all three of us won the 500 for Roger Penske. And so
That's incredible.
For him to even look our way is just a great thing. And then for the family to be able to produce wins and championships for Roger, I think that it's just a great thing. And so, but it took a lot of hard work and a lot of desire, a lot of dedication for all that to take place. So, and quite a bit of luck also to make it all happen. So, yeah.
And obviously, nothing comes easy. We know that, but as you say, there's luck. And I mentioned in the intro that we obviously spoke with Mario just over a year ago, which was incredible. Just an amazing guy. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't buy the Andretti luck or the curse or whatever it is that people seem to think surrounds the 500. He doesn't buy it. But Paul Page 2 weeks ago thought there's got to be something, because of the way that there's only one Andretti on the Borg-Warner Trophy, right, which is crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Do you believe in it?
We were, well, no, not really. I mean, there's some racetracks, like for me, Long Beach was just one of those racetracks that whatever I did to the car, it made it go faster. And then during the race, luck went our way. Basically, the ball bounced the way we wanted it to. Yeah. And so, there's racetracks in my dad's career and Uncle Bobby's career, Mario's career, that just, wherever you go to, things work out for you. And then if that's true, then the opposite has to be true. And sure. I spent some time up at Mario's lake house in the early 90s. Okay. And we got to talking, and he looked at me and he goes, Al, if it was the Indy 400, I would have won it 6 times, he told me. And I go, wow, okay, kind of thing. But yeah.
And then if you add Michael into it, obviously 92 came your way, but I mean, Michael, he was leading plenty of, and he never won it. And
Michael was gone on that 92 500. There was nobody going to touch him, but you got to finish. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's the old famous line, isn't it? To finish first, you have to finish first.
Right.
I mean, obviously going to come to 92, obviously, shortly. But just like rewinding again, obviously you started in the sprint cars and the Outlaws, the dirt track, and that's like the proving ground, isn't it, for North American racing? Anyone who's done well of the era that you were racing in came through that route. Was that an enjoyable time in there?
It was a lot of fun. I didn't realize how much fun it was until I did get to Indianapolis,
Sure.
And once you start running the speeds that we ran at Indy, it got serious real fast. Okay. Where, I took it very serious in the sprint cars, but I did realize that it was just a lot of fun and just truly enjoyed ourselves on the dirt, with the track changing from the time you run the heat races into the main event. You've got totally two different racetracks completely, and so yeah, I learned a lot. But it's not the only way, you know. It just was the way we did it with my family, with my dad, and all that kind of stuff. Like Michael's never driven a sprint car. He was on you know, Formula Fords, go-karts, to Formula Fords, to the Super Vs. I think Sam Hornish, Danica Patrick, they never drove sprint cars. You know, they came up through the road racing ranks. Sure. And got to Indianapolis that way, you know, and it's understandable, because for the championship, there's a lot more road course races than there is oval racing in IndyCar. And so that's the way it was with my generation. Now, my dad's generation, no, there was a lot more ovals than there was road courses. There was only like 3 or 4 road courses during the season in the late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s. You know, it was exactly the other way around. But then when CART was formed and so on, they started running more road courses throughout the country, and then with your city street races coming online right about that time, you know, it's just it was just the way that it was in that timing of that generation. So.
Yeah, sure. It's just that's what was done at the time. I mean, and you mentioned there's like Formula V, and so there's some came up through that route. You made the switch from the ovals onto the road racing scene, as it were, in Formula V, I believe. What made you want to try that different form of racing, or was it just a natural kind of progression in your mind? Was it?
Well, for me, it was a natural progression, but it was the only progression. Okay, so there was no Indy Lights at that time. Sure. So the Super Vs, they ran with the Indy cars, I don't know, 3 or 4 times during the year. So my first actual Super V race was at Michigan with the Indy cars. It was an IndyCar weekend.
Oh, I see.
And so my second Super V race was at Phoenix on the oval, which at the end of that same year, which again, they shared it with the IndyCar weekend. And so that was basically like your Indy Lights kind of thing.
Right.
And so, you know, the next year, Rick Gallis formed his racing team. And so it was the Super Vs that we did. And then honestly, Rick was ready to go to Indianapolis right then. He would have, if he would have had his choice, he would have gone from Super V's straight to Indy cars.
Made the jump.
But that's kind of where my dad stepped in, and he goes, "No, you guys as a team, you need a year of more development," is what my dad felt with Rick Gallis. Definitely me as a driver. My dad didn't want me going from the Super V that had 130 horsepower up to the IndyCar, which was producing 700, 800, 900 horsepower at that time. So it was too big of a step. So that's where the Can-Am car fit right in the middle of that, where Can-Am cars, they have pit stops. It's a 500 horsepower car. You know, it's 170 mile an hour car is what it is on the road courses. And so it really fit perfect in between the Super V and the IndyCar. And so it was a natural progression in that way. That was really, you know, the one time that Dad really said, "Hey, you know, take a couple steps back and really look at this." And also, I wasn't old enough to run the Indy 500. Okay. Right. So in CART, the age was 18. At the Indy 500 USAC, the age was 21. So even if we would have gone IndyCar racing that next year in 1982, I wouldn't have been able to run the Indy 500 anyway because I was too young. so even everything fell in perfect.
But even then, that was the focal point, wasn't it? The Indy 500 was.
Absolutely. It was the focal point from day one. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because this was what, 81, 82, but you won the Super V title, and then you went to in 88 81, I believe.
Yep, 81 the Super
From
B,
my research.
82 the Can-Am, and then we went to Indianapolis in 83.
Just something I want to touch on, not for too long. Obviously, at that time, you lost your sister, which was obviously terribly sad sort of time, I'm sure. So did that did that deter you at all, or was it a case of I want to keep going racing almost for her, or was it?
No, I mean, it was, I loved racing. I think you're talking about Debbie at that time.
Yes.
She raced go-karts and she did a great job. She even outrun me because I got in one of the competitors' go-karts.
Right.
And that was like a life lesson from my dad, right? Because I was going, I can outrun her. I can. And he goes, oh yeah, you think so? I go, yeah. So he set it up with the competitor, and I raced against my sister, and she smoked me. Okay,
Wow.
she was gone, and so yeah. So I learned a big lesson right then and there.
Yeah. No, that's cool. No, that's good. So obviously, you said 83, you made the step up to IndyCar with Forsyth Racing. Obviously, very
Gallus Racing. Yeah. In 82, I ran my first IndyCar race at the end of the season, which was the Riverside 500 on that road course. And that's when I drove for the Forsyth car. That's when I drove for him. And then the next year it was Gallus.
Yeah. You took fifth, didn't you, in that first race?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I mean, did that make you think I can do this? Because
it was quite a day. I had both good feelings about it and then bad feelings about it. And I kind of talk about it in the book, where that was the day that all of my idols that were on the pedestals, all of the idols that I had, Foyt, John Cock, Mario Andretti, Johnny Rutherford, Dad, Uncle Bobby, they were heroes to me. They became men that day. Right. And so I went, wow, I can do this. I can race against them, but I'm just a little redheaded, freckle-faced kid, Who am I? I'm just a regular Joe, and a regular guy. And so it was both very gratifying, and it was kind of sad when my idols came off of that pedestal.
When that kind of bubble burst, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a bubble. Yeah,
sure. But yeah, so the following year, you joined Rick's team. Joined at Gallus Racing, first full season. Did you have any expectations of yourself or of the team or anything going into that year, or was it a case of that's the first year we ran well?
We expected to win. We expected to win, and there was a lot of races that I led, and something would go wrong. Like at Michigan, Rick ran me out of fuel like two or three times, and we were leading the race, and they miscalculated, and so we ran out of fuel at that race, but we were fast. And then Riverside, for example, that year in 83, we were gone, and the spark box broke. The spark box, the Lucas spark box was just a nemesis in these cars back in that day, and it took me out of a lot of races in 83 and 84. Yeah.
Frustrating, I'm sure, because obviously being in winning positions, but you had a couple of second places that year, and so it's a pretty good start. You had like 7th overall, very good, and obviously your father won the title that year. So did that kind of spur you on thinking? Yeah.
No, I mean he's driving for Roger, and so they were expected to win the championship, kind of thing, and. I tried to help him win the 500 that year in 83, and
which was your first one, wasn't it?
Got accused of blocking Tom Sneva and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the way I looked at it, I just introduced myself to the whole racing world. So
Now, this is something I've always sort of wondered, because I've sort of seen the footage and heard the stories and everything else like that. I hate to bring age into it, but I was 2 or 3, so I didn't watch it live, sadly. It's been 39 years. Did you block him? Did you?
The answer is no. I did not block him. What was going on? Dad was fast all day, and then for whatever reasons, he wasn't fast. He said it was a set of tires that made the car loose or something like that, and so he couldn't get away. And so, in order for me to run wide open behind Dad down the straightaways, I had to get out from behind him because I
Right.
didn't want to pass him. Okay. I wanted to really, I was just concentrating more on Tom Sneva, as far as, giving him, I didn't want him to draft up on us. And so, I would get out from behind my dad's car, and then that way I could run wide open down the straightaways. And then Tom would only have one car to draft on, which was me, not 2 cars. Okay.
Right.
And then in the corners, I was trying to steal the air away from him. So I was really looking at where he was in the corners in my mirror, so that I stayed directly in front of him. And it almost worked, because he lost the front end off of turn 4 one time and almost went and hit the fence. I mean,
Right.
it was, like a lot like what happened to Emerson in '94, where he was trying real hard to pass me in turn 4, and he went up and hit the wall. And
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, and then finally we came on lap traffic, and that juggled everything around, and Tom was able to get by me, and then he got by Dad almost straight away.
Yeah.
So
Shot by. Well, that was a very tongue-in-cheek question. I
no worries.
I never thought you would block. That year, though, it was your first Indy 500. What did you think for the first time? Obviously, you've said, since you've experienced it many, many times, and you said at the start, it's the atmosphere and the build-up and the energy and stuff. Did you feel that the first time you were there? Did it just feel different to anything else the first time you were there?
Absolutely. It was, and the main thing about it, Rich, is that it was dreams come true. Okay. And so there was so many of my childhood dreams that came true in 1983. First off, driving an IndyCar out onto the racetrack, that was a dream come true. And then qualifying for the Indy 500, that was a dream come true. And then on race day, getting in there and start your engines and pulling away and racing in the Indy 500 was a dream come true. The final dream didn't come for another 10 years,
Yes,
which was to win the Indy 500. But, it all came through. Most of it all came that first year, that rookie year there. So,
yeah. Wow. What a fantastic year. Goodness me.
Yeah.
84, you got your first win at Portland. Just your 19th race, and you had your first race win. Memories of that? Must have felt great to get that first win.
Oh yeah, it was a long time coming. I mean, we should have won races in '83, my rookie year, but for whatever reason, something always stopped us. And then during the race at Portland, I didn't know I was leading the race at all. And so, I qualified like 12th or 13th, and, the two front rows, the first row and the second row, those guys checked out. They were gone. And so honestly, I spent most of the day by myself, not racing anybody really. I mean, because I was too slow to keep up with the leaders, and I was just fast enough to keep the people behind me. And I spent most of the day by myself. And so, it wasn't until the end of the race when it looked like they presented me with the white flag, okay, which is one more lap to go.
Yeah.
So it looked like they gave it to me, and I spent that whole lap going around there going, okay, when I come back around, if the white flag is still out there, then they must have presented it to me. And so I paid attention, and sure enough, once the cars got by, they brought the white flag back, and they presented me with the checker, and I went, "I won!" And both hands go up, all right, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I didn't realize, and they didn't tell me, Rick, and those guys, they were, so into the race, they didn't really. And then I didn't ask, what position am I in? I was just out there driving. Just driving.
Wow, it must have been a fantastic surprise when you won.
It was.
What?
Yeah, it was. What? All right, kind of thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow, that's cool. Because obviously, the team radios and stuff, they were barely in use, if at all. So I guess you didn't really know.
Yeah,
exactly.
We had radios. I mean, we had communication. It was just something that they never told me, and I never really asked. So it just I was just out there just doing the best job I could do, and just making sure that we got to the end and all that kind of stuff. And so later on we knew when we were leading, we knew it. So
yeah, right. First time, just run the race. Skip forward to the following year, 85. Obviously, it feels like just from looking at the, looking at all the facts and the figures and the footage I've seen, it feels like almost like a breakout year, like a real step up. But you switched to Doug Shearson Racing and the Lola chassis. What was the thinking behind that? Did Rick try and keep you in his team, or did you? How did that switch come about?
Well, I was looking for another team. I've got the details there in the book. Whoever wants to read it, Anyway, I had a shot at Lotus, was building an IndyCar at that time, and so I had a shot at that. The money didn't come through, and so actually, in '85, when the actual year 1985 began in January, I found myself without a ride, and it was right about that time, January or February, that John Paul Jr. had signed with Domino's Pizza, Doug Shearson, and then he had his legal issues that pulled him out of the car. That ride that opened up, the ride opened up, and thank the good Lord, that's where I went. And so that was a good, successful team. Sullivan, the year before, had been doing a good job for them. Okay. And, they won the Pocono 500 with Danny at the wheel. And so they were capable of winning. And so, it was great, with the Lola and all that. Lola was one of the best, if not the best, IndyCar right then in that year. And so, it was good. It was, we won some races that year, and chased Dad to, I lost to him by 1 point at the end of the '85 season.
Yeah. That brings me on nicely to the next point. How did that feel? Because you thought, I'm so close to my championship, but it was Dad that beat me. So how did you feel?
It was bittersweet, man. It was bittersweet. It was it could have been my first championship, but the sweetness of it was Dad was going to win. It was either we went to Tamiami Park, the final race of the season, knowing the Unser name was going to win the championship. It was either going to be Dad or it was going to be me. No one else had a shot at it at that final race. And so that was the good thing about it. The bad thing about it was, he did a better job at running the race than I did, because I needed to finish one spot in front of him, actually two spots. So if I ran third, then he needed to run fifth. Okay, for me. So a car had to be in between there. Now, going into the race, I qualified third, and Dad qualified like 15th or something, right? So it was looking really good. The green flag falls for that first turn. We go through there, the top three of us. I think it was Sullivan, Ray Hall, and myself. I look in the mirror when we get a couple corners down, and nobody's behind me. Nobody is behind me. And so there's full course yellow, double yellows coming out. And so that we slow down, and it wasn't until near the end of that lap before somebody caught up to me.
Right.
It was my dad.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
All those cars that were between us were all of a sudden gone. I guess Mario tried to make a big move on the inside going in and took out, like 5 or 6 or 7 cars, something like that. And so it was Dad who showed up right behind me. I'm going, oh my God,
Really? Come on, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's the way it was. He ended up finishing right behind me. I actually ran 3rd that day, and he ran 4th, which made him win the championship.
Yeah, there you go. Just the way it went.
Yeah.
We sort of moving on. 86 and 87, again, I kind of remember hearing about IndyCar at this time. I was 5 or 6 years old. I just got into Formula One. And Mr. Mansell, who's up here on my wall.
Good.
Up here, sorry. Brett Hero. But that was the year that I really got into IndyCar, and also I became aware of the Unser name. That year you were still quite strong, but you didn't have, in 86 and 87, you didn't have the title challenge, perhaps. Do you know why that was? Was it just couldn't quite get a setup, or were other people just too good sometimes?
Yeah, 87, we Doug Shearson decided to go away from the Lola, and he got a March, and that was one of the worst years for March IndyCar. 87 car was not a good car at all. As a matter of fact, proof of it is you've got Dad winning the 87 Indy 500 in an 86 March.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
So a year-old car. So
it
was just a difficult year for that, and I was now I'd been keeping my eye on Gallus Racing, Rick Gallus, who's in Albuquerque. They're really starting to come on and do really well, and so I wanted to get back to driving for Rick Gallus, and so that 87 year we negotiated a deal that would bring me back to Gallus Racing and being in the Valvoline car. So
yeah, which is one of my favorite single-seater cars
ever.
It's just a fact. You mentioned Danny Sullivan. We had Danny on last year.
Yeah.
And I've arranged to catch up with him at the 500, which is going to be great. Because I've always said on all these chats, I've always said that it was you, Danny, and Ari Lyondike and Rick Mears. You guys were the 4 that I latched onto when I was a kid.
Awesome.
Cool. So, but I just love Danny's Miller High Life car and your Valvoline car. Just
yeah.
Obviously, just in that year, you were getting 4th and 5th at Indy in those 2 years. So they were your best finishes and things were going well. But just want to have a quick sidestep quickly to the test with Brabham in F1. You were invited out there for a test. How did that go? And is it correct you were offered the seat? Were you offered the drive?
I was not offered the drive. It was the Williams. It was the Williams car, and Frank gave me a call and said that he was interested in me, and so invited me to go to Estoril in Portugal, and we spent 5 days there running, and it was a good experience. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed the car. It was the one and only single seat open wheel car that I ever drove with paddle shifts. Because by the time the paddles hit Indy cars, I had already retired. So I never drove and so we were able to do that, and then I think you were talking about 85. At the end of that year, yes, I had Bernie Ecclestone give me a call, and he owned the Brabham team at that time, and Nelson Piquet was his number 1. He offered me the number 2 seat, and I told him I thanked him for the offer, but I want to do well at Indy. I want to be successful at Indy before I go into F1, not realizing that was my one and only shot that I was ever going to get at a real at F1. And so, you know, hindsight, you know, I should have done it the way that Emerson and Nigel did it, which is go over to F1, do your thing in F1, and then come back into Indy cars and so on. And so I did it the exact opposite. I did my bit at Indy, and then went searching for the F1 ride that never turned out. So.
Okay. Yeah. And is that a source of regret, or is it just one of those things that happens in life? You just think, okay, well, you know, you make a decision that's right at the time.
Yeah, I felt, you know, my heart and soul is the Indy 500. So, you know, I would go down to the 24 hours of Daytona in preparation for the Indy 500. So I ran the IROC series to be better prepared for the Indy 500. So the more different kinds of cars that I could drive, I felt that experience, you never know what's going to happen at the Indy 500. And so maybe I would learn something that would help me during that race. So everything I did was geared towards being a better driver at Indy.
Yeah. Cool. I love that. It's good because there's so many people over here in Europe, you know, they do F1 and it's almost looked down on IndyCar. And I think, guys, come on, look at this. This is fantastic. And the Indy 500, it just shows what a big deal it is. You know, it's always been the focal point of your mindset, which is
it was.
Which is fantastic. No, that's great. I must admit, I'm actually a Williams fan. They're based just up the road from me.
Fantastic, yeah.
Up in Didcot, which is about 30 miles up the road from me.
Yeah, I had always been a Williams fan. You know,
always my team.
I think in 1982, Patrick had designed an IndyCar for the Longhorn race team for Bobby Hillin, and so Dad was the driver, and Dad, you know, they tried to develop this Williams designed IndyCar, and they did a good job. I mean, it in time it worked really well, but then you know, Dad went to Penske in '83, and I think Bobby Hillin retired from the racing. So
yeah, just it kind of went that way. No, that's great. That's cool. Just going back to where you're back to Gallus Racing and March and everything. Went straight back. Everything was going the right way. I've just got to note that first year back, you had 4 wins on street circuits. Street circuits, obviously, we only have 2 or 3 in F1. There's much more in IndyCar.
Right.
Did they seem to suit you and your style? Because we spoke with Ari Lyndike, and he had all his wins on ovals, and he just said I was just good at them. Was it? Yeah, he said it. Yeah, he said his actual words were, "I was good at ovals, but if I had to turn right, I wasn't very good." Were his exact words. But did the street circuits just kind of suit your eye, or suit your style? Do you think?
I think so. You know, the apexes. This is when the walls were really the edge of the racetrack. Turning in, your apex was a wall. On exit, you know, you couldn't. The edge of the racetrack was a wall, so there was no extra room, you know, bump rubbers or whatever, the extra asphalt, grass, so on and so forth of a permanent circuit. And so some guys could you know, run the walls really close, really tight, and other guys they stayed away from them, you know. And so I think I was pretty precise in what I did with my racing line, and so I felt I could run the walls better. So, you know, and they're having more and more street circuit races. I mean, you know, that was that. So.
I must admit, I love a street circuit. I think it's proper high-speed precision racing. That's what it should be. That I've always loved it. But F1 cars are too big now. They need to sort it out. But that's cool. And yeah, that year you came second overall. You know, this time to Danny Sullivan. Another really strong year.
Mhm.
Danny was quite good that year, wasn't he? I remember that was the first year
Yeah,
that
in the Penske. Yeah, the
it was a
Penske
rocket
had a
ship.
good car that year, and Sullivan, they clicked. They did a great job, and
Yeah.
yeah, he won the championship.
Yeah, he said that was the best car he ever drove,
Yeah.
which was music to my ears because it's one of my favorite cars ever.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
but just moving on to the following year, didn't quite seem to have the pace in '89. But one thing I've always wanted to talk to you about this. '89, the Indy 500, we all know what happened. Well, maybe we don't know, but some people don't know. But I heard you say on another interview thing that I did a bit of research on. You said that you felt that was the race that the team was best prepared for, probably the
Right.
best prepared race in your career. Um,
Yes.
Again, it was obviously the focal point for you and for the team, but I guess you felt like you went there thinking this is perhaps the best shot we've got so far, perhaps.
It developed as the month went on. We what we were doing, working with Alan Mertens, my engineer, and we were clicking. Because Alan and I got together for the first time in 1988, so we've got a year under our belt, and so '89 with the team just gelled really good with each other, and it's a single car team, and so. We just really it developed where on race day we were, I had the car, and the team did a great job doing strategy. The team did a great job on the pit stops. There was no mistakes made. And we didn't show what we actually had as far as speed until the very end, which is, when I came up and actually passed Emerson, and then
Mm.
got away, and it was lap traffic that enabled him to get back
He
by
went
me on that
because he
on
went
that
low,
back
didn't he?
stretch. Yep. If we wouldn't have caught the lap traffic, we were quick enough to win. And
Yeah,
so,
he had to.
but here or there, two cars went into turn three, only one's going to come out, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't me. So,
Again, it's something I've always wanted to speak to you about. As I said, I was a fan of yours, and that was the first one that I think I watched in full. And I remember watching it and being heartbroken. I was 8 years old. It was like, no, when I saw the
right.
incident.
I was heartbroken too.
I'm sure. Yeah, I think your
Yeah.
heartbreak outweighs mine. I'm sure. But obviously, when there was a contact and you started to go round, I've often heard sort of drivers say that things in their mind's eye, looking back, things slow down or anything like that. What was going through your mind at that time? Did you think, well, that's it, or what?
Yeah, well, anytime you lose control of the car and you're going that fast, or just losing control of the car, everything happens in slow motion.
Right.
When I would
Yeah.
go, when I'd have my crashes in the sprint car and I'd be flipping along, it was slow motion, because really when you're sliding along there and you're out of control, it's like you're on a roller coaster, and there's no stopping it, and so you want it to end right away, and it never does.
It just keeps
So
going and going.
that's why everything is going in slow motion, because you want to stop that thing right now. And so, yeah, I mean, when Emerson and I got together, yeah, everything happened in slow motion, going up to the fence and hitting it. And now this is before the safer barrier is
Yeah,
up. So I went right into concrete, and it was a big hit. It was a big
yeah.
hit. And so, yeah.
Wow. I mean, and it brings on to a comment a guy called Roberts just put on there. He said, "Yeah, can I just say, Al applauding Emerson after the crash was an incredible gesture, very very classy." Now, a few people saw that as sarcastic, type thing. And I've also read somewhere that you were thinking of giving him, but you had a change of thought. I just wanted to get what was going through your mind as you got out of the car and you saw them coming around. Were you
Yeah, well, yeah,
go full NASCAR, throw the helmet
no,
or
I
something?
was angry. Yeah, I was angry. If I could have threw my helmet at him, I would have. But I didn't have it in my hand. Okay, and
Perhaps for the
so
best.
yeah, I did. I purposely went out there to show him my displeasement. But then, once I got out on the track like that, and just the fans, it was like standing in the middle of a completely full football stadium.
Yeah.
And it just, just the fans were just going crazy and yelling and all that kind of stuff. And I just, I thought about, and all this hit me just bam, 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 that
Wow.
it's Emerson Fittipaldi. I mean, I'm friends with Emerson. If there's a driver out there, of all the drivers, Emerson is the one that cares about his fellow competitors the most.
And you
Okay?
trust him to go wheel to wheel.
Yeah, you trust him wheel to wheel. The last thing he wants to do is crash anybody. And I mean, he pulled Nicky Lauda out of the flaming car, for God's sake. I mean, and then over the years that he did race, Nelson Piquet got to Indy and had a bad crash coming off of turn 4. Emerson went to the crash to see if he could help in any way, and that's Emerson. That's Emerson, and so maybe if it was somebody else, maybe it was a different thing. But all these things just kept rushing into me, and we were both going for our first win. So it was Emerson's first win at the 500. He's coming around to get the checkered, and so. No, I congratulated him on his win.
No, lovely.
There's nothing else we could do. I mean, it was over. It's over.
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
and that's so great because obviously you've got that initial reaction of, and you're frustrated and angry, and you were in with a shot, and then it's gone. But it's amazing that thought process that you thought at the end of the day, you thought, well, this is Emerson. He's just
it was.
It's not going to be.
It truly was. Yeah,
but it was fantastic to see when you were there giving him the thumbs up, and very cool, very good. Again,
it was quite honestly, it was the biggest, best slide job anyone had ever given me. Okay. I mean, quite honestly, that's all what it is. But you're coming down to the end of the Indy 500, for God's sake. I mean, you're going for the lead. This is not running for 5th. Okay, or 7th or 10th. This is for first place, and
this is the one.
And you're gonna go for it. We both were going for it, and that's racing. So.
Oh, that's a good question. Just popped up. What was your opinion on Emerson drinking orange juice instead of milk? Sacrilege.
I didn't. Quite honestly, I understood why he did it, because he's got orange groves down in Brazil. Okay, so it's going to help his business. Okay, and but he sure did pay for it when we went up to Milwaukee the very next week for the Milwaukee race, which we raced the Indy 500 races, and then back then the very next weekend was Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the cheese state of the United States. Okay. And so they introduced him at driver intros up in Milwaukee, and he got the whole grandstands went boo. They had cows for signs and stuff. They started waving, and they booed him. It was something else. So
brilliant.
He paid for it up there.
I love it. Don't mess with the dairy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for answering the question. It's something I've been wanting to ask for the best part of 30 years.
Yeah.
Following year, 1990, it went quite well, didn't it? Again, did you go into the season thinking we can really do well here?
There was, 1990. This is our now it's my 3rd year with Alan Mertens. We're really hitting on all 8 cylinders with the team. The team is now expanded to a second car, which is Bobby Rahal is driving it for Maury Cranes. You've got Barry Green as the team manager. They came to Albuquerque. It ran out of Rick Gallus's shop. So all of these things really did fall into together on it, and there was an actual real plan, with myself and Alan that, okay, I'm a little weak on the ovals, so let's do the best job we can with get as many points as we can on the ovals. Let's really concentrate on the street circuits, which is really our strength. So let's do the best we can with the street circuits. The permanent road courses, again, let's do the best we can to get as many points. And it all just kind of fell into place that way, where
Right.
we won Toronto, we won Long Beach, and we did well at the other permanent road courses. The one thing, the Michigan 500, the oval, that one, I was weak on the ovals, but then it all came together. We had a great car for that Michigan 500, and really a lot of it, as far as the ovals were concerned, with my setup, was mainly Bobby Rahal. Bobby, I would go to his setup, and it was better than what I had developed over the weekend, and so Rahal had a lot to do with my success as far as winning the championship that year. So
right. So you went and you said you touched on the ovals. You had your first super speedway win that year, which was obviously a breakthrough.
Michigan,
the breakthrough thing. And I saw that there was 4 wins in a row in the middle end part of the season. After that, did you kind of feel not unbeatable, but you must have thought, well, if we've won 4 in a row, of the year.
Yeah, it was going good. I mean, everything was falling into place where we wanted it, and so we were fortunate to have all those things fall in the way that they did, and give us the point lead. And then really for the last quarter of the season was all about protecting that point lead. So instead of going to the races wanting to win the race, and the main goal is to win the race, you had that added pressure that hey, you need to get some points. It's all about winning the championship. Once the Indy 500 is over with, then it's all about the championship and winning it. And so once we were leading there in the fall, near the end of the summer, then we go to the races and just points. That was the main thing.
So just bank the points and then add them all up at the end.
And don't do anything stupid out during the races, just for a spot, like second or third. Just settle for third and fourth, whatever it is. Just bring it home and get the points.
Proper way of thinking, proper way of doing things. And you won with a race to spare despite the crash at Nazareth. I guess it was like relief and joy when you had the crash and you still won the title.
Yeah.
But it must have been great when you won the title.
I actually won the title that day. And it was, once I went to the hospital and I got out of the hospital and we came back to the track, everybody was gone. It was so anticlimactic. There was no party, no nothing. Everybody's gone, and so we did get to celebrate it at Laguna when we got to the final race. So,
which is a pretty good place to have a celebration. It's
it was good. It was good.
Not bad. No, great. That was first IndyCar title. Terrific. 1991, obviously, again decent year, but Andretti and Rahal were pretty good. I mean, Newman House had a great car, and and Rahal. I mean, sometimes that year it felt like he didn't do anything wrong. It was just they were just really, really good.
Yeah, they Michael really, that Newman Haas race team, they really put it together for Michael that year, and I mean he was unbeatable. It was good. It was good year for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously 1992, moving forward, again, probably similar to 91 in terms of the championship and Newman House and everything. Just the one win in 92, but it was the good one. What a win. And I think I've said this before, and I'm not proud to admit this. This is my favorite IndyCar, my favorite Indy 500 ever, because when you're 11, you quite like to see a wreck. You like to see cars spinning and stuff, and I'm not proud of it at all. But it's one that just sticks in my memory as being. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It was
carnage. Yeah, it was carnage, and the reason why is because of the temp, the ambient temp. It's the coldest day in the history of the 500.
Yeah,
and the tires were just rock hard. You know, I mean, it took a lot to get heat into the tires, and so that's why everybody was crashing. I mean, we leave the grid, and on the parade lap, and the pole sitter
Roberto
Guerrero crashes.
Yeah,
just trying to warm things up.
He just went hard left, didn't he?
Yeah, and so it was super cold, and that set the tone for the whole day, and that's the way it was. You had to really work hard at getting some heat in the tires.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke with Eddie Cheever at the start of the year on one of these, and he was obviously second. He was alongside Roberto, and I said, "What did you think when it happened?" And he just said, "Well, where the hell's he gone?" He was just It was just he should be there, and he's not.
I started like 12th or something like that, and I watched him do it. He boom. and I pushed the button. This is back before the monitors and all that kind of stuff. And so I pushed the button and I said, well, there's one gone already, So,
one down, 10 to go.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow. Something I've actually just realized today that I want to touch on. It's actually 30 years ago, obviously, since your win. It's 30 years ago today that we lost JV Marcello pre-race. Very, very, very sad event. And unfortunately, that almost set the tone for the month, didn't it, with crashes and things? And did you know Jovi at all, or was he? Because he was.
I did not. No, he was a rookie that year, and no, I didn't. I didn't really get to talk to him very much at all. Yeah.
No, sure. I did kind of wonder that, but yeah, awfully sad. It's one of those innocuous-looking ones, wasn't it? It didn't look so bad. Same as Scott Brayton a few years later. It didn't look so bad,
right?
But obviously, yeah, really awful.
Yeah.
Really awful situation. But I read somewhere that you were praying for a nice warm day because the car was always good in the heat, and you woke up on Sunday morning and
it's the coldest day in the history.
What did you think? It's like,
come on. I told my wife, I go, well, let's just get to the end of this, get as many points as we can. There's always next year.
So you'd almost written it off that morning, almost.
I did write it off. There was no way I was going to win that day. I absolutely wrote it off.
Wow. Well, it might have maybe relaxed you a bit. Who knows?
No, it was a heck of a race, and and again, Michael had everybody. He didn't make any mistakes that day. He was gone.
Wasn't he like a lap ahead of the whole field at some point?
Yeah, at one point, he had a lap on everybody. That's how fast he was. Yeah.
Wow. Goodness me. Something I've wondered, when you're in a race like that, where there are so many incidents and accidents, and obviously, was it Jeff? It was Jeff Andretti, wasn't it, who really smashed himself up with his legs, and and there was a lot of other ones. And what goes through your mind when you're going through a race? Because I remember I said this to Paul Page a couple of weeks ago. We had the commercial breaks in the UK, and it was a running joke between me and my dad. Every time they go to a commercial break, we came back and Paul Page was like, car in the wall. It was just every 15 minutes, it seemed to be.
Right.
Every commercial break. What was going through your mind? Were you thinking, what is going on here? Or was it just because of the way the day was with the temperature and everything? Or
no, it was, you had to work hard at getting heat in the tires, and you couldn't run those first few laps off of a yellow or anything like that. You really had to take time to build up your speed and run it flat. If you tried to do it too soon, the temperature just wasn't in the tires, and so you just really had to have extreme discipline to get the heat in the tires, and then you could run it. But you had to work hard at it. And
try and avoid all the nonsense that was going on around. It was
it
was an unbelievable year. It was terrible. Obviously, you came into the race in the second half of the race. You sort of came into it, and a number of cautions and things like that. Obviously, Michael was up the road, and you were facing Scott Goodyear, who'd come up from the back. And I guess in hindsight, you might feel sorry for Michael, but at the time when you saw him slowing, what did you think? Was it wow, or yes, or oh my god, or what?
Well, we had just gotten by Scott. Scott and I, the last 50 laps of that race, we were so equal that whoever was leading, either leading each other, and it was for second and third, and whoever was leading, we come up on lap traffic, it would wreck the momentum, and then the guy behind would pass. So we had been doing that the last 50 laps, and just literally we were just stuck together. And it just so happened that he was in front of me. We caught some lap traffic. I was able to get by him. And then it was a half a lap later that Michael breaks. And so I went, first I was, man, I'm sure glad that we got by him. Because had he been in front of me, I think it would have ended the same way that it did, except Scott Goodyear would have been in front of me, and so and so then it was really just about just running it flat and just hoping that the car doesn't go off. That's what I was hoping for. We were, because on my last pit stop I had taken some more rear wing out of it and trim it out, to so that I could be able to run quicker than Scott Goodyear. And so I didn't know if maybe I had gone too far, which ended up being the case, because it was the fact that the car got loose in 3 and 4 coming for the checkered that enabled him to get his run on me.
Sure.
And so we had gone a little bit too far with it. So,
but I mean, again, this is something that I've wanted to ask you for many, many years. This is a big moment for me. When you went through the white flag for the final lap, you're leading, knowing what Indy means to you and to the family. What was going through your mind? Was it just go that way, or was it just?
It was full on concentration of making my line as best as I could, because it was all about beating Scott. So that's what was going through my mind was just staying in front of Goodyear. That's all I had. That's all I had to do. And so once the race was over, the checkered, then the emotions and all the stuff came rushing into me, and it was big. Yeah.
Well, when you crossed the line, now Paul Page said that he was up in the booth on the roof, and it was set back from the front because of the weight of it, and he was leaning over to try and see what had happened because he didn't know who'd won initially.
Right.
Did you know that you had him when you crossed the line? Did you think, I've done it?
When we crossed the line, not before the line. Not before the line. I didn't know if we had him or not. But once we crossed the line, then I knew,
Yeah. What were you thinking when he was in the mirrors, doing that in the mirrors? Were you thinking, just no, not like this?
Yeah, I was just trying to stay in front of him. And then he had that massive run on me off of 4. And honestly, I thought I had lost another one. I thought I had lost again.
Oh, you
because the car did go off on me, and wow. And so I tried to block him, but there was his run on me was so massive, there was no blocking him. So I tried to fake him a little bit, but it was just a massive run, and so I finally had to just go straight and try to get there. Yeah,
just keep your foot in it and hope for the best. Mm-hmm. It happened, and again, the emotions you say and all that kind of thing. Must have been an amazing cool down lap, as they call it, and the drive to victory lane.
It was.
I've done it. Again, can you describe the feeling when you win, or is it just one of those things? Because you spoke to Will Power and he said, I can't describe it. And willpower doesn't get lost for words. And he just said,
it's dream come true. I mean, you
yeah,
know, anybody who does, who has success at Indy, you know, they've dreamed about it most of their lives, you know,
yeah,
and so,
yeah,
um, you know, some of us dreamed about it from when we were kids, and
yeah.
so, you know,
Wow.
it's just dream come true. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And obviously, you know, with what you said in Victory Lane with the interview with the famous, you know, the famous line, you know, you just don't know what Indy means.
Right.
It felt
Right.
like you couldn't, from watching it and even watching it back, it feels like one of those moments where you couldn't find the words and that just kind of came out. Was that how it was for you? You were
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. It was actually the way that Jack Arute asked the question that he just left it wide open, and I was just being flooded with emotions about
yeah,
everything, and so that's the only thing that I could say was, hey, it means so much, you know. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's great. And it's one of those now iconic kind of lines. Everyone knows it now.
yeah,
And on the flip side, with like Paul Page, he said, you know, it was what you said, you know, you said in a line in his book, he was like, you know, you haven't won the Indy 500 until Paul Page says you did, which I think, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's absolutely right. Wow, fantastic, so cool. And yeah, I must admit, yeah, and there was like little 11-year-old me watching it on a rerun. I went nuts. So thank you.
nice,
Thank
yeah.
you for that. I went nuts. It was the first time that I'd gone nuts about an IndyCar race. It was
Good, good,
brilliant.
good.
One question that I was on do you like the fact that it's still the closest finish in Indy 500 history? Is that a cool thing that everyone always throws at you? But or would you like there to be a closer one just to
No, actually, I love the fact that it's remained the closest finish for however long it's remained, and
so
so,
glad you said
you
that.
know, I guess we're going on 30 years now,
30 years,
where
isn't
you
it? Yeah.
know, Rick Mears and Gordon Johncock only lasted 10 years as being the closest finish, and
Yeah.
so,
That's nothing.
uh, yeah. So yeah, no, and in actuality, it has tied Scott Goodyear and I together for all these years, and
Yeah.
today we're close friends because of it.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah. So
Because I
it's
guess you're
just
mentioned in the same breath, aren't you?
true blessings. True blessings. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm aware of the time. I'm going to just rattle on a bit forward. But quick, 1993, well, didn't quite work out. But obviously, we mentioned about Nigel Mansell. You know, local
Mhm.
hero around here. He took to it well, didn't he? IndyCar. He
Yeah,
did
yeah.
well.
He adapted to it really well, and did a great job in the 93 500, and so
And
yeah, I mean, he
probably should
did
have won
great.
it, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was strong. He was right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's the one thing that was missing from that season for us Brits. That was the one thing. If he'd have, you know, to be Indy 500 champion, F1 world champion, and IndyCar champion at the same time, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, so
Mind-boggling. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. Um, very quick one, Craig Homer. Good question. We'll come to that right at the end. 1994, moved to Penske. Big, you know, big move. Obviously, you know, your father and your uncle had
Yeah.
raced there.
Mm.
Did you feel any pressure racing? I guess there's always pressure racing for Penske, but
There's always pressure
yeah.
racing for Roger. Yeah.
When you signed, did you think, oh,
Yeah, it was great. It was again, you know, growing up in the Indy cars and all that kind of stuff. Rogers sets the standard and has for years and years and years.
yeah,
And so he is the one car owner that you dream about getting a call from saying,
yeah,
"Hey, I'd like you to drive my car," and that happened. And again, it was a dream come true. And driving for Roger was just, I loved it. I loved the challenge that it presented, and I loved the team and the opportunities that Roger gave us,
hmm,
all of his drivers, he and all of his crew members and all that kind of stuff. And I think he does it honestly with all of his employees, is that he gives you the best opportunity to be the best that you can be. And
right,
that's what Roger does. Roger doesn't let, you know, details, you know, not having the right equipment or anything like, he doesn't let that enter the equation. He provides the best opportunity for you to be the best that you can be. And that's what he does. And so, and he does it. For me, I didn't feel any pressure from Roger ever, even when I was a single car team there at the end of my stint with him. I loved it. I loved being driving for Roger, the opportunities he provided me, all that kind of stuff, having him on my radio. Roger talks to you every single lap of every single race, and he's just giving you information. It's honest to God, it's giving you information, and once I got used to it, then I loved it, and I loved having Roger on my radio, and then actually when I left and I started running back for Rick Gallis again, I missed having Roger talking to me all the time. I'm going. Finally, there was one time I pushed the button during the 2000 Indy 500. I pushed the button and I went, "Are you guys still there? Are you in the pits?" They go, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, just checking." Because I was used to Roger always talking, and so, but he's just feeding you information about the whole race. Who's running good? Who's not? Who's around you? Who's not? When was their last stop? I mean, he's just full of information, and it was really cool. Yeah.
I think that's so lovely to hear, because obviously Roger Penske having the business mindset that he's got and being, I don't know what the word is, not hard or strict or whatever. I don't know what the word is, but he's got a reputation for being a certain way of that ilk.
Yeah.
But there's that human side as well. He wants you to do well, because not just for him. He wants you to do well for you.
The word I have with Roger is disciplined. That's the word that comes to my mind. He's just so disciplined, and then sees the world for what it is. He knows that there's luck involved. He knows that, because you're human, you have good days and bad days. He does too. He's human, and so he relates that, and so my stint with Roger was the best 6 years of my career. Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously 1994, the Beast, the Mercedes Elmore engine. You couldn't keep that secret today, could you? I mean,
no, not with social media. No way. No way. That was just before the social media drive or came online or whatever. And so, there's no way that could be done today.
No, I mean, it was an amazing engine, wasn't it? It was built here in the UK, wasn't it? By Elmore, just up.
Elmore, yeah. It was good, and it was a heck of an effort. I mean, when we were testing that car at Michigan, and it would have its failure, they would be in the garage tearing the engine apart to find out what failed, so that they could phone up Elmore in England and let them know what failed, and so that they could get on it straight away. I mean, there was engines being flown back and forth on the Concorde.
Oh, wow.
So that it could be done, so that it could be, there was no messing about with the development of that engine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, because the Concorde used to go right over here from Heathrow, which is only about 30 miles east of here.
Yeah, so it was real.
I saw one flying over the top. That's cool. And obviously it was a terrific year for you. You won the Indy 500 again. Did you enjoy it second time round? Did you enjoy it a bit more, because it was a bit more of a serene finish, wasn't it? It was.
Well, it finished under yellow, and that was the longest lap I've ever had in my life around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Was that last lap, and where the year before it was, I didn't even think about nuts and bolts and if the engine was going to run or not run, because I was racing Scott Goodyear. And so now this year it's under yellow, and I'm thinking nuts and bolts and engine, please don't stop on me now.
You've got time to think.
It took forever to get around that. It took forever.
But oh goodness, I'm sure. But again, a second win and the ninth one for the family, which is just incredible.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And you won the title that year relatively easily.
Yeah.
Compared to
It was my best year in
best year.
in Indy cars. I think it was Roger's best year for his team. There was 16 races. Team Penske won 12 of them. I as a driver, I won 8. So
you won half the races.
I batted 500 that year. And so which was incredible, and so it was it was the year basically.
It was a great year. Just gonna sort of fast forward again. Again, because I'm wary of the time and everything. Around that time, there was the IndyCar split. It was just a whole mess, wasn't it? What were your thoughts on it, just quickly? I mean, did you think it was basically
it was a
greedy, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a mess, and it was just so sad because really, IndyCar was at its peak in popularity at that time, and it was just a sad thing for everybody involved. You can't really point your finger at who did this, who did that, whatever. The fact is that it happened, and a lot of drivers, a lot of teams, crew guys, not the team owners, the crew guys, and the engineers and the drivers, everybody that they weren't able to go to the Indy 500. I mean, and so that's they dream about it, and so it was just a sad thing for everybody, and it was a great day when they all got back together, which was in 2008. Okay,
it
was
took
in
a long
2008 that they all got back together and started pulling one direction, and so here we are today, still rebounding from those percussions that happened back then. And IndyCar is actually in the best shape that they have been since those days. Okay, and so the popularity is getting back, it's growing, all that kind of stuff. And so today in IndyCar racing, they're having good races. I mean, we watched a great race yesterday at the
crazy, wasn't it?
The Grand Prix, with the rain and all that, and I mean, it's super competitive. And so I mean, the whole field from first to last in qualifying was 0.6 of a second,
which is crazy, isn't it?
It's just crazy.
In single seat racing, it's crazy.
It's super good. It's just super good.
It's just taken a while to come round, isn't it? So from when it all went wrong. And no disrespect to the guys who were in the Indy 500 that year, the first year since the split, I remember looking at the field, and half of it I was like, who? Because there weren't familiar names, because the others had, and it was a split, and it was.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Just fast forwarding on a few years, you had a few more years, a few more wins, racing with like Gallus and Patrick Racing and things like that. Was it always the plan to go out the final hurrah at the Indy 500? Was it always somewhere that you would have liked to have ended your IndyCar?
I never really thought of how I was going to end my IndyCar career. I never thought about that. It was just something that I was ready when it did happen. I was ready for it. And it hits you like that. I found myself not enjoying being out there, not having fun, but most importantly, I wasn't learning anything. Every time I drove a race car, no matter where it was, what it was, I learned something. And I wasn't learning anything anymore. And it just wasn't right. It just wasn't the passion, the desire, the love, the sacrifice wasn't there anymore. And so that's when, it's time to get out. Okay. Before you hurt yourself or you hurt someone else, I mean, it's just not worth it. And so, I guess that's why I never really thought about retirement. It just comes and it presents itself to you. And so that's what I did. So,
I guess it feels like the right time when it happens. And
Yep.
Just very quickly, racing elsewhere. You raced in the '93 Daytona 500. There was a question that popped up earlier. I just want to touch on that. Zach Rabichkov, I hope that's right, Zach. Apologies if it's not. Your overall thoughts on the '93 Daytona 500, and did you ever want to go back and do it again in the Daytona?
Yes and no. I mean, I had my opportunities too, and just with my dad, I love the performance of the single seat open wheel car. So when I was driving the IROC cars and I was driving that one time at NASCAR, it was basically the same as the IROC car, just more power. Okay. Right. And I had driven one on a road course up at Watkins Glen during a practice session up there one day, and it didn't have the performance level that the IndyCar was. And so, when you're testing on a Wednesday and there's nobody at the track and so on and so forth, I wanted to be in a car that would, the performance level was at the ultimate. Okay. And so that makes it exciting. And so with NASCAR, I just didn't, at the time, I didn't really see it as furthering my career,
Right. Sure.
They sure were making a lot of money down there. Okay. The drivers were making a lot of money, and I didn't realize that till way late, and just talking with my dad, my dad had a bad experience with NASCAR when he would run it. And so, he didn't have very good things to say about it and so on. He felt it would hurt my career, right, if I did do that. And so it just never came to fruition. I ran that one Daytona 500, and sure enough, they did to me what Dad was what Dad said they were going to do to me. I was fast in practice and all that stuff, and then just one little small adjustment on the car, and I lose 2 or 3 tenths, and that puts me 43rd. So I'm the defending 500 winner going down there and a race in the Daytona 500, and I qualified last. Okay. Because of political reasons. And that's the way it was. And so, I did get a taste of it, and I didn't like it. So
I guess you thought it best to draw a line under it. And
Yep.
Again, something I want to touch on, but not for too long. Things off track. Obviously, it's documented in the book and things. Had issues off track, things like that. And you've deepened your faith, Christianity, and everything.
Absolutely.
Just very quickly, how is everything going on that front? Because I saw a chat you had. You were always believed in God, but the only time you spoke to him was when you wanted to win, and it was like, oh, yeah. But you've really connected. You've really gone deeper, and it's really helped you, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, things are going great, by the way, in my personal life. I got married last September.
Yes, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. That was really the turning point, taking my mom to church and so on. I was never really a believer in Jesus. I believed in God and all that, but I didn't have really, I'd never studied the word. Okay. I never did any real studying of the word. And so, once I dug into that and found myself, studying the word and becoming a believer in Jesus, and that really opened up a whole new thing for me. And it was more about just being free. It freed me from not being able to forgive myself for all of my off-track indiscretions that were made so public, and that sort of thing. And that was just, I couldn't shake that. I could not forgive myself for doing those stupid stuff. And so, once I gave my life over to Jesus, it changed the whole thing. It really, really freed me. And so, you know, if Jesus and God, if they can forgive me, then you know, I had to make a real attempt in forgiving myself
Yeah.
and get on with life and start living. And that's what I found, you know, by actually believing in Jesus in eternal life. It made me want to live here
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Live in
And
the now.
so
Live. Yeah.
I loved it. And, you know, and so, yeah, I'm truly enjoying life. I get up in the mornings and have my cup of coffee and just, let's go make the best out of today that I can. And so,
Which is the best way to approach life, and I think it's wonderful that everyone finds their own way to do that,
yeah, yeah,
and everyone, you know, whichever route that takes, always be commended for it. No, that's lovely to hear, and
yeah.
do pass on a huge thank you to your wife. She's been great in arranging this, so
You
do
got it.
pass
We will. We will.
huge thank
Yeah.
you.
Norma's awesome. She's
Yeah,
awesome.
she's great. Very quickly, again, moving on, just a few fun bits. This is the book.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent read. Very, very good. What just quickly, what made you want to put the book out at this time? Was it just a case of the situation in your life and working with Jade and everything?
It was, well, quite honestly, COVID shut down the world, right? And so it was something that I had been thinking about, you know, because I hadn't written an autobiography, and that's basically what this is an
Yeah,
autobiography. And so during lockdown of COVID, I went, now's the time. Let's go to work on it. And
brilliant.
so I tried to learn how to be an author on the internet. And I found out once I got to, and I was doing great. I was at my post-it notes and all that kind of stuff, and I'm writing some chapters, and everything's good. And I got to the 89 Indy 500, and I went, you know, I don't know. I had like writer's block because I
Right,
wanted it to be truthful and to come out and really talk about my true feelings about that whole thing, because they were so, you know, yes, I would have walked out there and flip him off, and then no, I didn't, you know. And so how do I write that down on paper?
right.
And so that's when
Nothing personal.
I gave Jade Gurse a
Yeah,
call, because he had done such a great job on The Beast. Okay, the book The Beast, which is
yeah.
a great book. I think I have the cover. I've got the cover of it. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yes, I've seen it.
yeah. So that's The Beast with Emerson right there. And so he did such a great job with that, and so I knew him, and then
Mm.
he just finished one with John Andretti. He wrote John Andretti's book, and so that was great. Which I've got that one here,
Oh
John
yes,
Andretti
yeah.
book, right. So he done such, and so I went, I need help. I go, I need help, dude, and he goes, he'd love to help me. So that's when it all started, and quite honestly, as we went through it, you know, it was great therapy for me. It was honestly great therapy, you
That's
know,
lovely to
living
hear.
through you know, Jovi Marcello, living through Alex Rodriguez up at Laguna
Of
Seca,
course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Greg Moore at Michigan
Oh,
that year.
yeah,
You know, Shelley's my first wife, her passing a
yeah.
couple years ago, you know, going through all that and really going through, you know, the trials and tribulations of the marriage with her, you know. I mean, it was we were oil and water, you know, and
Right.
that's the way it was. And my daughter put it best by saying it was a roller coaster that no one else wanted to get on. Okay. And so
That's terrific.
you know, so all of that, it was
Wow.
really honestly great therapy for me. and
Wow.
and so, yeah, we're very proud of the book. It was the
Mm.
right time. You know, I had Eddie Cheever ask me the other day, have you caught any flack over it? You know, because
Mm.
I was so truthful, because I
Yeah,
was so
it is a
honest
very honest, very
and
honest
it's
read.
raw. It's
Yeah,
raw.
raw.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes to the core.
yeah.
There's no sugarcoating anything in that book.
No,
And he asked
which I
me, and
think
I
is
said
great. I think
no.
that's really good.
I said, no, I haven't caught any flag. As a matter of fact, it's been the exact opposite. People have been going, it's great that you told the truth like that. And really, the whole purpose for the book is for anybody who is struggling with any kind of addiction, uh, uh, anything like that. Get some help. That's what it's all about. It took me so long to do that first ask, which is, can you please help me? There's help out there, and you think to yourself, oh, I don't have a problem, I don't have this. Well, I'm for sure I have substance use disorder,
Right.
and I'll have it for the rest of my life, simply because I smoke tobacco. I smoke cigarettes.
Yep.
And that's substance use disorder. Okay.
Yep. Same as having a
I've
drink, alcohol.
I've
It's the
got
same.
it. Right. And so so the whole thing is, ask for help, get help, go do it. And if we can help one person with this book to go get help, then it's been worth all of it. It's been
Job
worth
done.
me putting myself out there and all that kind of stuff, because it's that important. It's life or death. It
Yeah.
truly is. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's something that so it was time for the book. Yeah, it was time.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And I'm just going to hold it up again just so people can see the cover. There it is,
Yeah,
folks.
good.
A Checkered Past. Honestly, get it.
Nice.
It's a terrific read, and it's not just about the racing; it's about the whole thing, and it
Yeah.
is fantastic. It's a terrific book. So yeah, thank you very much. It's a great read.
Cool. Good.
I'm going to read it again. Right, very quickly, very quick things because time again. Willie T. Ribbs, your great friend, he's come on and had a chat.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy, isn't he?
He's crazy. What are you talking about?
He's out of his tree. He's brilliant.
Okay, Willie T. Ribbs is crazy. That's all there is to it. And he was crazy back when he was driving the Trans Am cars back in the 80s. He's even more crazy now. Okay, and he's just a great guy. His heart is bigger than Texas, which is where he lives.
Yeah,
and that's why we get on so good. Is he's just got the biggest heart in the world. So
yeah. Well, actually, I had him on for a chat. He's not going to be at the 500 sadly this year, but he said he comes over with Theo doing the shooting, and there's a place just up the road where he does it. And he said, next time I'm in the UK, I'm going to contact you.
Nice.
Together.
Good. Yeah.
And he gave me his address in Texas. He was like, yeah, if you're ever in Texas, just come over. I was like,
yeah.
What? And no, and to anyone watching, no, you can't have it. I made a promise. Again, very quickly, a few words on just like Paul Page. He spoke incredibly fondly of you. He's a legend, isn't he? He's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul he's the voice of the 500, and it's just simply there. That's it.
Absolutely.
And he's a great man. We've been very close for a lot of years now, and it just he did it. He does a great job. Used to do a fantastic job, covering the IndyCar races, not just Indy, but the whole season and all that kind of stuff. And he tried to keep Uncle Bobby in line, and he succeeded on occasion.
To a degree.
But no, he's a good friend. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And that's another book that's well worth getting, Paul Page's book.
Yeah.
But get Al's first. Right. Mario. Can't let it go without talking about Mario. He's just again, they broke the mold, didn't they? He's the most lovely, humble guy for such a incredible racer and competitor.
You know that the Dos Equis commercial, Dos Equis beer, it's the most interesting man in the world. That's Mario Andretti. Okay.
Yeah.
Just simply, but the most interesting man in the world. And he covers all the bases. He's he's definitely an idol of mine. I concentrated on him pretty much all through my career. As a matter of fact, there'd be races that in the practice sessions, I would sit and wait for him to go by and then follow him out.
Wow.
To learn where I'm slow. Okay. And just to be better. And so, Yeah, I concentrated on Mario a lot, especially at Long Beach. He was the man. He was
Yeah,
the king of Long Beach,
yeah.
and so yeah, I just you know, we've had great times with each other, Mario and I. We did an SRO tour for the troops, okay, in 2011, and that was 10 days of. We went through Germany, we went to Iraq, we went to Bahrain. It was a
Wow.
whirlwind tour, and Mario was the leader of the band, and it was so cool getting to travel with him to all these different countries because Mario Andretti is a big deal in the United States, but he's even a bigger deal in Europe
Oh, everyone in
because of
Europe knows
his
Mario
because of his F1 world champion. I mean, that's what
and
he
his
is.
roots.
And so to see the people come out and in droves for him, it was fantastic. I was truly blessed to be a part of it.
Wonderful. And I heard a great line said, when Mario Andretti enters the room, his aura enters first.
That's right. It does.
That's
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that sums him up. Wonderful guy. Hopefully going to catch up with him at the 500.
Yeah.
But okay, right. Fun questions. Just some fun questions, which is great. Favorite car you've ever driven? It's a tough one.
Which one now?
What's the favorite car of yours that you've ever driven?
It was the PC-27. As far as the Indy cars are concerned, with the PT-27, John Travis designed it. It was the trickiest Indy car that I ever drove. It didn't win any races, but it wasn't because of the car. It was because of the tires that we had and the engine that we had in it. That's what stopped it from going to victory lane. But literally, the car was fantastic. It was so trick and a real joy to drive. Yeah,
fantastic. This might be a silly question. Your favorite circuit?
Indianapolis, of course.
Had to be, didn't it? Okay.
Indianapolis.
Was there a series that you'd like to have had a go at, like full time? Would it be F1 maybe?
Sure. I would have loved to have gone F1. Had I won Indy when I was a bit younger, okay, if I'd have won Indy sooner, I would have made more of an effort to go to Formula One. But sure. It took me 10 years to win the 500, and and then by that time, Emerson was actually telling me, Al, you don't want to go F1. Right. It's so political. It's not good. And Emerson said, it's not like it is over here. Over here, we help each other. We help each other to be competitive. Yeah. Over there, no, there's no helping each other. They'll stab you in the front. They'll stab you in the back. They'll stab you in the side. Even your own team would. And I go, wow, and sure enough, he was right. I kind of learned that kind of stuff just by witnessing Michael Andretti go over there and driving for McLaren. They didn't give him a fair deal in any way. And so
it was all towards Ayrton, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so, you kind of went, hey, kind of thing. And so, but that and Le Mans, I had an opportunity to drive Le Mans with Al Holbert and Derek Bell. Wow. And it was the year that they won the 24-hour Le Mans. I had Al Holbert call me and say, Al, will you come over? And I said, it fell on the same weekend as Portland. Right. And it's an IndyCar race. And he goes, forget the IndyCar race. He goes, we're going to win. We're going to win this year at Le Mans. And so forget it, and I go, Al, I can't just, I'm contracted to drive at Portland. Okay. Yeah. I can't. And sure enough, he went and won that year. So, Le Mans would have been one of those bucket list things that you try to do. So
it's on mine, but just to watch. And it's just over the channel. It's just over there. It's not far. Again, this is a stupid question. What's better, winning the title or winning the Indy 500?
500.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I could have not asked that, couldn't I? Okay, you've driven with some incredible drivers. alongside some drive. I'm just gonna, you against like the Bettenhausen, the John Cox, Neva, Rutherford, Al Holbert fight, the Andretti's, Mears, Emerson, Sullivan, Ray Hall, Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, the World Trips, Mansell, PK, and Villeneuve, and Frank Kitty, Montoya. Is there one that sticks out in your mind as being up there as the best? Would it be Mario or would it be someone else?
It would be, well, I have to remove my dad from that equation, okay? Because I raced against my dad, and my dad's my ultimate hero and idol. Yeah. It would be Mario. That's the one that I concentrated on day in and day out to beat, because he was fast day in and day out. And that's even when he was older, I mean, when he was younger, he was, the bomb, I guess. I mean, so yeah.
Well, that's something that you and Paul Page agree on. He said he's the greatest he's ever seen. So,
yep, without a doubt.
Yeah. Final question.
And he's got 9 lives. Okay, he's got 9.
He's got 19
lives. Okay, I mean, Mario. We spent some time at his lake house there during the summer. I think I mentioned this earlier, and he's got some ultralights, right?
Oh, the lightweight.
You know what an ultralight is? Fabric wings with a propeller. They're ultra light. They're tubing. They're aluminum. Anyway, he's got a twin passenger and a single passenger. So he takes me up in this twin passenger. We go flying around. We land at a neighbor's house and then come back. And he goes, I think I'm going to take the single seat out for a little bit. And I go, okay. And so he goes and flies away in the single seat. Okay. And this is about, 2 or 3. It was about 3 in the afternoon.
Right.
And so it's starting to get about 6:30, 7 o'clock and no Mario. Okay. It's starting to get dark. And so I go to Jeff and the family's not even missing him. Right. I guess he goes all that. and I go, Jeff, it's been a while since your dad's been here. I mean, he's off on the ultralight, and he goes, oh yeah, that's right, kind of thing. And so right about that time, it's starting to get dark now. You see some headlights coming up their driveway, okay? And it's a pickup truck with the ultralight in the back of it, all busted to, smithereens. And Mario said, yeah, he goes, remember that where we landed at the neighbor's house? He said he was about 80 feet off the ground when the main strut broke.
The
wings folded up like that, and he went bam and hit a massive hit, right? And I go, you okay? And he goes, yeah. He had cut his ankle a little bit. Didn't need stitches or nothing like that, man. I mean, just
wow.
Cut his ankle. I go, dang.
Yeah. Just shrugged it off and
yeah, I came. We were testing tires one day at Laguna Seca, and me and Mario testing for Goodyear, and this is when they were developing the radial tire, and so the radial tire would give up on you right in turn 1 at Laguna, which was a wide open corner. It was fast, and struggling with it all day. Finally, Mario decides he's going to run it wide open through there. And he crashed, okay, and you could hear this great big bang. It was near the end of the day, big loud boom, and crash, and so it was one of the only times that I actually got in a rental car and went to the crash. Right. Okay, we come around that corner and the engine's over here, the rear end's over here, the tub is over there. This thing's broken into a million different pieces, right? And pull up, and there's Mario's just standing there. And so I walk up to Mario and go, are you okay? And he goes, yeah. He taps his watch like this. He goes, my watch broke though. What? Not a scratch on him. Not nothing. And this car is in a million different pieces.
Wow.
And this guy's, he's 900 lives, not just 9 lives, 900 lives. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Final question. Your proudest moment racing? Is it 500 or?
Absolutely. Winning the 500, winning the championship. you know, being there with my dad when he won his final championship there in '85, sharing the podium that year. Him and I shared the podium a lot, and so
Yeah.
we were truly the first father son combinations really to race against each other
Head to
in
head.
IndyCar, and then we were the first ones to share a podium with each other, first and third. Michael and Mario, they did it later on,
Yeah.
and once Newman Haas really got moving there where they were teammates, they ran 1-2 a lot, with either Mario winning or Michael winning, and then, the Andretti's 1-2. I don't believe Dad and I ever did that, but we shared a podium first and thirds quite often, and so that was cool.
Yeah, I guess it must have been a very proud moment just for you and obviously for the whole family as well.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up there. I mean, it's gone on for an hour and 50 minutes. I apologize for taking so long, but yeah, when it comes to motorsport, I can talk for hours. But Al, it's been an absolute joy speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And just I want to put this on record. They say never speak to or meet your heroes, but I beg to differ. It's been fabulous talking to you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on, and make it a good race day. We've got this year's 500 coming up, and honestly, I'd really like to see Graham Rahal do it. Because that would be the second father-son combination that could win. And if Graham doesn't do it, I'd like to see Elio get 5. I'd really like that.
It's great you said that. I've been saying to my friends, I said, who do you want to win it? And I said, my pick's Graham Rahal. And if I could pick anyone, obviously Roman would be great.
Yeah.
But Helio,
he's so close last year. I mean, they had it, and it was just a malfunction on a bad pit stop that took him out. Okay. But he was strong. He was competitive. He was strong, and he's knocking on that door hard. And so I'd like him to see it for sure. Yeah.
It'd be great. We'll see what happens.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll let you get on with your day, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much.
You got it. You're welcome. Okay. Thank you.